All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua D. It's good to see you. Good to be here. Let me see. Let me say hi to whoever's here. All right. Well, one big doodle. Good to see you. I understand. One big doodle says, I'm awake. I can't sleep with the world the way it is. It's understandable. Excuse me. Let's see here. AB, good to see you. Hey from New Zealand. Pain in the butt 24/7. All right, we got a pain in the butt here. Mudrucks. Yes, we'll cover that as well. Sorry, it is sad to hear about the soldiers. Let me see. Angel Eyes, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Please hit that like button on the way in if you could. And I would appreciate it very much. John, what's happening? How are you? Good to see you. All right. Yep. So it looks like the first casualties of this conflict on the United States side, I haven't heard if Israel has suffered any casualties. I would imagine that they have some civilian casualties, but I haven't heard of anything else yet. It's only really a matter of time. So that happens as well, especially with conflicts like this going on. And let's see. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Give me a second. So it was about 36 hours, going on 48 hours now. We started covering it as soon as it happened. Just a terrible thing. War is terrible, but we're gonna cover some of it here. I don't know how long we'll go tonight, but I did want to play some of this. So let me see. I heard that the Strait of Hormuz was closed. Hormuz, excuse me. I heard that's closed, and that's, I mean, that's when you're really going to start feeling it here at home. Uh, within 2 weeks, gas prices, I would assume, are going to go up. It's going to be $100 a barrel probably at some point. And, I guess some people don't care about that. Some people do, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Hold on here. That's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money.
Here with us now is Batya Ungar-Sargon, host of News Nation's Batya. Batya, it's good to see you. Thanks for waking up for us this morning.
Thanks so much for having me, Hannah. It's such an honor to be here with you.
I haven't had a chance to talk to you since all this broke. What is your reaction to what we're seeing in the last 36 hours?
I mean, obviously, there's a sense of jubilation at hearing that this person who.
Okay, so look, and obviously, Rusty, gas goes up, food goes up again.
Wanted to kill every American, let's not sugarcoat it, is dead. We don't know yet how much of a success this is. Of course, the president has an amazing track record of doing incredible, huge things without losing any American lives. So he has set the bar very high. And I think we're all hoping that he will manage that again. We'll have managed that again here. But of course, it's too soon to tell yet. We're all, I think, still praying that we get a Maduro level of success in this operation as well.
There is no doubt that when it comes to foreign policy, the administration has been very successful. With that said, Batya, the president promised no new wars. He wanted to be the president of peace. Did he break his promise to Americans? And I was talking to a congressman in the last hour. Most Americans don't want to get involved in any more foreign conflicts.
100%. And again, it's a little too soon to tell. But to me, the idea that he would put boots.
Let's see. The Iranians are claiming they have unalived over 500 U.S. soldiers. Yet they also claimed that the supreme leader was still alive. And then 5 or 6 hours later, after the supreme leader was confirmed dead, or then they confirmed him dead about 5 or 6 hours later, they had like this whole pre-recorded thing. And so, don't... it's propaganda at its best.
On the ground seems utterly far-fetched. We have new reporting out of the Washington Post that the Saudis actually joined the Israelis in privately urging the president to strike. So he knew that he had this regional backing. And if you look at who's coming to help the Iranians, nobody. Where's China? Where's Russia? There's reporting out of the UK Sunday Times that the Russians are actually now considering security guarantees for Ukraine. So what the president has actually done is picked off the axis of evil one by one, isolating each.
I got to tell you, the way that it was presented about the striking back of the Iranians has been vastly exaggerated over the last months and years, to be honest. And it seems as though they were significantly weaker than anybody had really thought. Maybe not the military itself, but wow, I mean, it's just very surprising that that they have not been able to mount. Not that it's a good thing, but they haven't been able to mount much of anything. I mean, they're completely flat-footed. They're dominated by the air. Air superiority is, I mean, they have nothing. They have absolutely nothing going on. And let me show you.
One.
It's pretty unbelievable, to be honest with you.
It's very hard for me to imagine that Iran will be able to hold on for very long.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how they can even afford to keep fighting back. I mean, at some point, they're just going to have to stop. They're just going to have to stop. They can't afford to keep doing this. They don't have the money to do it. They don't have the infrastructure to do it. They don't have anything anymore.
I'm praying and hoping that this will be over very quickly. Like you said, the American people have absolutely zero appetite for boots on the ground style warfare. However, we're seeing already polling showing that 54% approve of this strike. So he has a lot of wiggle room here in terms of the approval of the American people.
How does involvement in Iran help us here in the United States, Batya?
You know, a nuclear armed Iran would have been an absolute disaster for us. They were acting like they were seeking peace. They were acting like they would want another, Obama era style nuclear deal. But of course, they weren't willing to stop enriching uranium at all. If they had just said those words and agreed to that, we wouldn't have had this strike and the Ayatollah would still be alive. So they really did present a threat to the American people. I know that we're seeing reports of Americans being worried about an increased threat of terrorism.
That's where the threat really comes from. These sleeper cells in Europe and the United States. That's the big worry. Not so much the rockets that are being launched. I saw a report that said that it's not really funny, but it's a little peculiar of them to say that they said, we've been shooting our old rockets. Wait till you see our new ones. More posturing again from the Iranian people, but their ability to retaliate has been almost zero
to the United States right now. But the thing to understand, Henna, is that either we would have to deal with that now with this commander in chief and this military, or we would have to deal with that in a much worse way with a nuclear armed Iran 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. Our children and grandchildren would be dealing with that from a position of much more weakness. And so I think that is the thing to keep in mind right now.
Batya, you did first, great point. And you just alluded to this a moment ago. And I just want to tell our viewers a bit more. The FBI's counterterrorism and intelligence teams, they're on high alert since Saturday's strikes in Iran. Batya, what does the president need to say to Americans to bring down the fear level?
Something we've also heard, people with deep sources, both in the administration and in Israel, have reported that Mossad is telling them that they are very deeply embedded in what remains of the regime, and that there is reason to believe that there is a more moderate configuration available in the near future. What we're looking for there is not necessarily, some sort of ideal fantasy of who we would love to see in charge.
Well, Rusty McShackleford says, and it's a good point, what happens in these power vacuum terrorist organizations like ISIS and Al Qaeda form, we watched it over and over and over and over. Well, that's sort of the point, but this isn't necessarily been billed as a rebuilding, a boots on the ground rebuilding. I mean, this has been billed as a regime change, no boots on the ground, minimal casualties, although 3 American soldiers have already been pronounced dead, 5 injured. I'm sure more to come. I'm sure civilians on the side of Israel, the side of Palestine. Iran has already been established. A girls' school, things like that. These are the tragedies of war, and that's what's really, to me, bothersome.
In Iran. What we want to see are people in charge who are willing to work with the United States, yes, for a better Iran, but much more importantly, for a better relationship with the United States. That is the goal. That is what an America First administration should be seeking, of course. We love the Iranian people. We want them to be free, but we don't go around bombing other countries unless we are being threatened. So I think we want to hear from the president, what was the end goal here? What is your information that makes you think that that end goal is available? And for him to keep doing what he has been doing, which is prosecuting the case for the American people about how this helps us.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below.
Never. It's always the jump scare with this guy. Let me see here. When are people going to join hands and just tell
with just your
they're talking about moderate regimes here. I don't know how that's going to happen.
assessment of this military operation from the point of view of the United States over the first couple of nights?
I know. I wish
Yeah, first of all, I think militarily it's been brilliant.
Ellie?
Look, I have a tremendous amount of respect for John Bolton. I've known him for years and years, but I don't necessarily share his negative viewpoint about the president's strategy regarding regime change. The president never said it was going to be regime change. He said it was going to be regime decapitation. And then the answer after that is up to the Iranian people. Whether the Iranian people want to take over, whether the Iranian people want another regime, perhaps more moderate, it's really up to them. It's very much Venezuela 2.0. He's absolutely right. I was in a post-regime operation early on. We don't want to put America.
Kimberly 61 says Donald Trump canceled the Obama deal, referring to the Iran nuclear deal. And yeah, it was definitely ripped up. But I guess the other side of that was that they were still trying to enrich uranium, possibly away hidden in the hills, not letting inspectors come, or not letting inspectors show up when the inspectors wanted to, but only telling them that the inspectors could show up when they said that it was appropriate, not letting them test ground soil, things like that. Those are just some of the reports. Now, I'm not saying that that stuff's true, but that was the big argument is, would Iran actually hold up their end of the deal when it came to the nuclear deal? Were they not going to be secretive about it? And the reason places like Iran and North Korea and so on and so on and so on want nukes is because everybody else has them, and they feel that it is in their best interest if they have them as well, for the stabilization of their country, to keep other countries from invading them, like just happened.
American troops on the ground.
Okay, so Tracy, hang in there for a moment, just to follow on that, General Kimmons. You think the president has, in your view, been clear in articulating that's his point of view and what he wants to happen, essentially Venezuela 2.0?
Yeah, it's not only Venezuela 2.0, it's Syria 2.0. In both cases, we have taken people that we didn't particularly like off the battle space, whether it was our assistance with Bashar al-Assad or Maduro. But we've left the government in place, and we now have two governments that we can work with. Let's hope the same thing can happen in Iran, whether it's done through a moderate takeover by the people or a more moderate regime 2.0.
Tracy, I did, like I said a few minutes ago, want to ask you about the intelligence, especially on the CIA's side, that went into this operation that ended up killing the supreme leader of Iran, among others, but especially the supreme leader. So apparently this was months and months where they knew and even adjusted the timing, right, of the attacks, because they knew we'd be in a meeting with.
And once again, there are people covering this, and I've always been weary of covering this stuff because everybody has very strong opinions about what's going on, and I got to tell you that I do respect everybody's opinion. I'm kind of coming to you from an unbiased standpoint, just kind of telling you what I think, what I feel, what I sort of know, what I don't know, and so I don't mind discussing these things, but I also know that a lot of people have trepidation doing it. I have had the same, but I think that it's important, at least for me. I feel like it's important to talk about this stuff and kind of experience it to together, sort of try to make sense of it together, because there's a lot of people that are just fearful. There's a lot of people that are scared, a lot of people that don't understand anything that's going on. And I'm not saying that I'm not one of those people, but do I think it's World War III? No. Do I think it's bad? Yes.
Top advisors and Israel's planes went in and took him out, but it sounded like the U.S. intelligence had a lot to do with that.
Well, it's actually both the US and Israel, in my opinion. I think both working together in terms of gathering that intelligence, which is rare. It's not to say we've never worked with Israel before. It's just on the rarer side. Because what I will say is at CIA, the country that was the bane of my existence, that was extremely difficult to get human intelligence out of, was Iran. I used to call it a black hole because it's really how it operated. And so there is no way, in my opinion, that the CIA had a good network of human intelligence in Iran. However, I think their technical capabilities perhaps far exceeded Israel's technological capabilities. And Israel had made good inroads into those networks of the Iranian leadership. And I think those together over a period of time, over a period of prolonged surveillance, getting his pattern of life, understanding when these meetings were going to occur, all came together at the perfect time.
So you think a lot of it was digital, Tracy?
I think from the U.S. side, a lot of it was digital. And to General Kimmitt's point, Israel, one of the ways that they operate is those, I guess, decapitations, right? Cutting off the head of
Iran seems so unorganized in this because, they knew that something was imminent because no deal was made, and yet they all seem to have gathered. They gathered. All the top leaders gathered at the same compound to have a meeting. Israel saw that and called the United States and said, hey, they're all meeting together. Holy crap, we got to go now. And that's when, instead of, usually it happens in the very early morning, like, 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And then all of a sudden, Israel intelligence is on the phone with the United States going, you can't believe this shit, but they're all meeting right now together, all of them, every one of them. They're in the same compound. We got to go. And that's what happened. And I was just sitting there thinking, I can't believe that. I can't believe it.
The snake, if you will. That is one thing that they're good at, quite frankly. And so I really think that this is sort of I agree with him, this is sort of their modus operandi. And so I think that Israel helped with the human side. We helped with the technological side.
Would you add anything to that, General Kim? And I also wanted to speak a little bit about, where this goes, what comes next, how long you expect this to go on for. The president in his public comments has gone back and forth from saying, well, it could be a few days, and then made a comment earlier today that we always thought it might be about 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, first of all, I completely agree with Tracy. I've had a relationship with the Israeli for many, many years. They have developed over decades, probably the most exquisite human system in any country in the world, and it's all in Iran. We're talking about emigres that have come back. We could have an entire show on the human capability, the human intelligence capability of the Israelis. Look, I think what happens next, we're already seeing the Iranians reaching out and saying, let's talk. They're starting to feel the pressure. As a military officer, I'd say this is not the time to talk. And we've got them on the run. We are in what we call a pursuit operation while we continue to destroy the infrastructure, as you're showing on the screen right now. It's clear the leadership has started to feel the heat. But this is absolutely the worst time to go back to negotiations because the Iranians will think it's just last Thursday and it's going to be the next round of negotiations. If we are going to be successful and negotiate with the Iranians, our precondition must be that they give up their nuclear programs, diminish their ballistic missile supplies, and end their proxies arrangements around the region. You say there won't be anything left to negotiate after that. I disagree. Fact remains is they've got to get sanctions relief. They need tremendous help with their economy. They have a water crisis.
I got to be, and I got to be honest with you too. I'm somewhat surprised that China and Russia, neither one of them have really done anything. Not a thing. Not that look, they're not willing to die for Iran, but Iran produces, God, I don't even know, what is it, 20-30% of all oil for China? And now the Strait of Hormuz is closed, which is a huge deal, which is going to drive up prices all around the world.
Paralleled in the world. So there's plenty to talk about, but we don't need to talk without a policy of no nukes, no missiles, no proxies. And we ought to continue the war until we have them at that position.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone.
Do we have another in chat? So, yeah, this stuff brings out the best in people for sure. Let me okay. I know that bastard. He's a rat bastard. I don't know how he does that.
Correspondent Leah Lando, she is live in Times Square where those crowds were gathering today, Leah.
Yes, Kelly, dozens of people gathered for several hours. They were dancing, they were singing, and they were eager to tell me why they're so grateful. I spoke with two people who grew up in Iran and now live here, and here's what they had to say.
So we got the great news yesterday that Ayatollah Khamenei is dead and he's gone. It was the best news that all Iranian could ever get. People in Iran were happy, we're dancing in the street, and we are here to support the people of Iran, the 40,000 plus people that got killed in 2 days in a very short amount of time. We are here to be their voice, and we are here to say thank you to President Trump, thank you to Bibi Netanyahu, and whoever support people of Iran. President Trump stayed true to his word that help is on the way, and help came yesterday. And in the first day, they got Ali Khamenei out. So we're so happy for that. People of Iran are happy now.
And you were telling me just horrible stories about things that you have endured. Explain to people who aren't aware what it's like over there and why you say this had to happen.
People doesn't even have basic freedoms that like we are it in this country. They don't have freedom of speech. Even like the woman can just choose what they want to wear. They're forced to wear hijabs, and if they don't, you can get killed, tortured. So basic human right that the people are enjoying here, it's been people of Iran didn't have it for the last 47 years.
It's hard for so many of us to imagine. And Reza, you were telling me that growing up in Iran, you would go to school and they would teach you what?
Yeah, every morning you go to a school. Before you learn about peace, about love, about anything good in the life, they tell you, they force you to say death to America, death to Israel. And when I came here to this country, I was like, why do I have to say that? Why people in Iran, they have to say that? It's a big thing that people don't know about it in America, that the regime wants to kill America. The regime wants to death to America every single day. Is this, whatever the military action is, that it's not only about the Iranians, it's about the future of your kids as American, your kids, and then your grandchildren's, they will be safe when the regime take down.
You still have family there, and we're hearing people over here debating whether this will make a difference to the regime. What do you say to that?
My mom actually called me and she said, listen, we know that is going to be a military action from the US to Iran, but we are happy. We are happy because it's going to be peace. It's going to be peace to the America. It's going to be peace to the Middle East, the whole world.
To those who can't imagine just what you have been through being over there, I mean, you live here now, but what do you want Americans to know about your life in Iran?
We want Americans to know that we could have done it. We wanted the regime change for the last 47 years. There was different uprising, and like the last couple of years, the last 2 years ago, we Massa Amini uprising. So it's been continuously, we were like fighting with this regime. We wanted them out, but we could have done it empty-handed. The only solution to that is intervention, and they did it, and we thank you them.
So while there was that celebration here in Times Square in New York City today, there are more protests planned for tomorrow. The People's Forum, one of the groups calling for a national day of protest, and one of those protests expected to happen right up at Columbus Circle. Kelly, just so many emotional stories coming from the celebration today. People really wanted to tell me about their life in Iran and why they say they're so grateful. Kelly.
Yeah, well, you can certainly imagine why. Leah Lando, Leah, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download.
I mean, it's just, it really is unbelievable.
All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. 36 hours since the United States launched that Operation Epic Fury into Iran.
I gotta tell you, Epic Fury is a lame name. I just gotta say that.
Looking live right
Epic Fury
now, there in Tel Aviv.
Reminds me of the movie that ping pong movie, Balls of Fury.
In Israel, and it looks very quiet. This as Iran saying they are threatened to retaliate in a major way. We're also learning new information here on this Sunday as 3 U.S. service members were killed, at least 5 seriously wounded in this war against Iran. This from the U.S. Central Command, the first American casualties since the U.S. and Israel launched those strikes on Saturday. And of course, the United States also taking out the Iranian supreme leader earlier on, as well as plenty in his inner circle. Let's be joined right now here by friend of the program, FDD Executive Director Jonathan Schanzer. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What can you tell us at this point? What are you monitoring? What's key to this retaliation and how the United States, as they say, will achieve all of
I was in 9th grade, so no.
Their objectives? What are you watching?
Well, a couple things I'm watching right now. I think first is that it appears that Israel and the United States have achieved air superiority inside Iran. That means that
it appears
the air defenses of the Islamic Republic are really no longer. This is what happened during the 12-day war last year when Israel was dominating the skies over Iran. I think we're seeing this pretty much again. And I think that's important because it just means that the Israelis and the United States are going to be able to go hunting for the top leaders, for the missiles, for some of the other, military infrastructure that they're looking to dismantle. So I think that's number one. Number two is, of course, the complete disarray within the upper echelons of the Islamic Republic. It's not just the supreme leader, but he had a replacement that I don't think lasted more than 6-7 hours before he was killed. The defense minister gone. The number that we heard yesterday was something like 40 different senior officials, all liquidated within the first 24 hours of the conflict. So it does raise questions about how much longer the regime can hang on for. As far as the division of labor, I think that's also been interesting. I mean, it looks like the Israelis were going after the top leaders and hunting for missiles. The United States was looking.
Justin, to be honest with you, I was trying to decide which one to cover tonight, and I didn't know, and I decided to do this just because, I've covered Nancy for the last 3.5, 4 weeks. Not that I'm done covering them. I plan to again tomorrow, just depending, but I decided to do this. I don't know why. I just did.
For nuclear infrastructure.
I guess because it's a little current and newish, and but I'll be back to it. It's not that I have forgotten. Trust me.
And apparently now also underground infrastructure, including some of those missile silos. Obviously,
I got to tell you, I honestly sat here and went for probably 10 minutes just going. I had it titled out. The Nancy Guthrie. I don't remember what the title was, and then I was like, "What do I do?" And then I went, "Let me talk about this. I want to talk about this because this is what it's just what I've been interested in the last 24 hours. I guess I don't know."
The regime has been able to squeeze off some shots, and we've seen some pretty significant strikes in Israel. A number of people killed, a number of people injured. The same now that we've learned.
Also, it's such a controversial topic. It always kind of scares me away from even talking about it, to be honest.
Where sadly 3 U.S. service members and another 4 or 5 U.S. service members were injured after the 3 were killed. So we're learning a lot right now about the kind of the pace of this battle. Everybody on the U.S. and the Israeli side seem to think things are going well. And I think the regime is hanging on for dear life. But I do get a sense also that we could be in for a full month or more of this, according to folks that I'm talking to. And of course,
why does Trump's hat look huge? That thing is massive. Look at that thing. Holy crap.
That's going to be a grueling thing for American service members out in the Middle East, and it'll be a grueling thing for Israelis. And don't forget also,
it's a very big hat. I love this hat. It's big. It's a big hat. I love it.
All these other Arab countries that are coming under fire by the Islamic Republic. This is, this is no joke. This is a real war in the Middle East, and it may last for a month or more.
Yeah, Trump kind of reiterating that, saying 4 weeks it might last with this until all those objectives are achieved. You mentioned the supreme leader as the United States, Israel taking him out and several around him. Is there a power vacuum right now?
Look at my hat. Yeah, it is a power vacuum.
In charge necessarily of the IRGC?
Well, so there's a guy named Ali Larijani who is the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council. He was actually tapped by the now deceased Supreme Leader to be the man who would be in charge. We're also seeing a pretty significant role being played by Arakchi, the foreign minister. So there are individuals that are stepping up into the breach, although I've got to say, I'm not sure how long they're going to be around for, because the Israelis are clearly hunting for those top leaders, and they're taking them out one after the next. They don't see the difference between pragmatic and radical leaders within the Islamic Republic. It's their assessment that if you're part of the Islamic Republic, then you are part of the problem. This is, I think, it's a broad brush that they're painting everyone with right now. But I think ultimately the Israelis and the Iranian people are probably on the same page here, which is that you don't want to see remnants of the regime taking over and making deals let's say cutting down their nuclear stockpile by half or their missiles by half. At this point, from the Israeli perspective, I think from the Iranian perspective, probably from the United States perspective too, this is binary. Either the regime is in power or it's not, and they would prefer that it not.
I mean, that would seem like it would completely defeat every bit of the purpose of what's been going on, right? It's like, so you want a decapitation of the regime, you want a regime change, or you're going to leave this regime in there and make them work with the United States. But that was what was supposedly happening already, and that's when the nuclear deal was at hand, but then it got torn up. I don't know.
There are questions, though, about who comes after. And that, I think, is probably the thing that is the most befuddling to analysts and, the news, the news outlets that are covering this. A lot of people have been talking about Reza Shah Pahlavi, the crown prince, so-called crown prince in waiting or crown prince in exile of the former Shah. The idea that he would take over or that we would install him is not sitting well with a lot of people. I think for obvious reasons.
So the crown prince is that the Shah of Iran's? So I remember I was very, very young. Actually, when the Iranian hostage situation happened, I don't think I was even born yet, but what does he have to do? What does he have to do with the Shah? I don't know.
As a democracy, trying to bring stability to the region, the idea that we would install a monarch does not sit well with some. There are others. There's a group called the MEK, Mujahideen al-Khalq. They are a Marxist radical organization that's been designated as a terrorist organization here in the United States. They're trying to make a play for power. So I think there's a vacuum that folks are seeing that is likely to open up. And I think we've got days and weeks ahead where there will be some confusion about who steps in. It'll be important that we pick the right people for this role.
And you mentioned this might not be binary, or this might be binary. It's either one way, the IRGC, or a entirely different path. But is there any potential possibility for diplomacy that they can say that, hey, they're not going to try to access any nuclear weapons? Is that window closed entirely?
Look, I don't want to say that it's closed. I do actually see maybe some room for what we would call the Venezuela option, right? Where the United States.
Yeah, I think the Shah was overthrown in '79. The United States actually took him in, but it was I believe it was I think it was the Iranian Revolution. The people that were in power today were the ones that overthrew him.
Could be on the horn with folks from within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, from within the IRGC. They're several rungs down from the top leaders. Maybe they're more pragmatic. Maybe they're afraid of American weaponry. Maybe they just don't want to see their country get destroyed from weeks of war. And so there is the possibility that they're doing outreach to the Trump administration, the CIA, the DI.
All that is unseen says it's not up to the U.S., or it shouldn't be, in my opinion. The United States has a long, long, long history of taking out leaders who they feel don't pose and aren't. They feel in the best interest of the United States. I mean, it's just the way that the United States has operated for a very long time. Probably, I mean, shit. probably all the way back to the, I guess, at least pre-World War One.
Maybe those conversations are happening right now. But again, I think, there's going to be some friction. The Israelis don't want anybody from the IRGC taking over, nor do the people of Iran, who truly hate the regime that has kept them poverty stricken and devoid of rights for decades now. There will be, I think, some friction over this. It doesn't mean that we can't potentially move forward if you find the right people. But, I think the important thing to remember here is in Venezuela, it was a kleptocracy, but ideologically, it was pretty bankrupt. There was really not much there. With the Islamic Republic, people have been brought up on this radical ideology.
But the argument to all of that, and Beth, I see what you're saying here. Beth says, if you enjoy your freedom, it's how the United States should be operating. But I guess the opposition to that is we have a lot of issues in America that aren't solved, that aren't being looked at. Healthcare is a mess. The housing market is a mess. It's unaffordable. The gas prices are out of control. Inflation is out of control, and war does not help inflation at all. And this war, or even though it's not called a war yet, will not help prices go down at all. So a lot of people feel like, well, is Iran our enemy? Well, I mean, they definitely hate the West. Yeah, they are. What kind of a threat did they pose to us? That's going to be up for debate for years. Same thing that happened in Iraq.
They are true believers. And it's for that reason, I think there will be concern about allowing for any remnants of this.
Because what I'm seeing, personally, from what I've seen, is Iran has been able to put up absolutely nothing of a fight. Now, yeah, have they got off some rockets, some here and there? Yes, they have, but that was to be expected. But the way it was built is that there's this axis of evil that is ready to wipe countries off the face of the earth, and I don't know. Yes, Putin said that the killing of the supreme leader violates like human rights or something like
this regime to hold on to power. People will be concerned about the resurrection of the Islamic
which is laughable.
Republic's revolutionary ideology. That's what we don't want to see. After all the the munitions that we've spent, the immense effort leading up to the war. Remember, we've been in the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean now. Our soldiers have been there for almost 5 weeks. And now there's a war that's underway. We don't want to make a deal with the wrong people. And I think that's something to watch here. I'm not saying the president is going in that direction. I don't even know if he's tempted. But I mean, these are the sorts of things, the conversations that are starting to happen about, what does the future hold for the Islamic Republic? And how do we find that off-ramp from this war? We just need to be careful here that we're not making deals with the wrong people and that we're putting the Islamic Republic on the right path. This isn't necessarily engineering a regime or a regime change. At least that's not where we are now, but it could be where we steer things in another couple of days or a couple of weeks.
And that will take some time. And also another interesting note from President Trump's his most recent comments. He also said it again.
Let me see. Jenny says, I watched close friends and family from Iran celebrating today. Very emotional. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Iranian government was very popular with the people, that they were very oppressive. abusive, and a lot of times just flat out killed their own. Happens a lot. But again, the question is it the United States' job to do that? And, and it seems like the answer is by the current administration, yes. By almost every administration. It's going on for a very, very long time.
Several days ago, talking about immunity for some of those that probably try to get out of that. Is that the olive branch from President Trump to say, hey, you can no longer be a part of this. We will kind of grant you that immunity?
Well, look, I mean, we've seen these sorts of things before. De-Baathification, if you remember that from the from the Iraq War of 2003, 2004. What happened afterwards is, we were trying to make sure that there wasn't a complete brain drain, that people who knew how to run the country could continue to run it. There was also this question of, trying to entice people to step away from the regime that we were trying to bring down. So this is not surprising. I think the big question that a lot of folks are going to ask is, at what level do you offer that amnesty? In other words, if you are a senior cleric or a senior IR.
So really quick about that amnesty that they've been talking about. I got to let me read some. I want to read something to you. So this is from open source intel. An Israeli source told the Saudi channel Al Hadith that no Hezbollah politician or military figure has immunity, not even its supporters. The source added that the operation in Lebanon will be extensive and could include an invasion. So that's interesting. And 2 hours ago, it says smoke rising from the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait City. That's not good. Lebanon's Ministry of Health has released an initial casualty count from recent Israel airstrikes, reporting 31 people killed, 149 injured. It's only been a few hours since Hezbollah decided to join the fight. Lebanon's Minister of Justice has ordered the arrest of those involved in the firing rockets at Israel. Lebanon does not want this. Jeez.
GC official with blood on your hands. Should you get immunity? Should you be given that olive branch? And I think
embassy is on fire,
and there will be some friction over this, given how horrible this regime was to its own people, given how horrible this regime was and to the entire region, not just the Israelis, but the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Bahrainis. They've all suffered at the hands of this regime, including just over the last 24 hours or so, right? A lot of these countries have been hit with missiles and drones fired by the regime. There will be a long memory here of the way that this regime treated the surrounding neighbors, and neighbors may not be willing to allow for that olive branch.
That's what I was going to ask you, because you mentioned how the United States, how Israel, they're hunting some of the leaders and also kind of the missile silos or bases there. In terms of what Iran is doing in their attacks on Israel and other neighboring countries in that region, does that strategy signal anything to you, and why potentially they are doing this?
Look, let me just say, I think there is a strategy right now of the United States and Israel doing what needs to be done to remove this threat. That's the foremost strategy here, right? It's nuclear, it's missiles, it's the leaders of the regime, it's the military infrastructure that has propped them up. That is the primary strategy. There is, I think, kind of a broader question, which is, now that the entire region is enjoying the defensive architecture provided by the United States and Central Command, and that we're watching CENTCOM provide intelligence and provide missile defense not just to the Israelis, but to everyone in the region that is part of that American-led alliance structure. What does this do? Does this start to forge new relationships? Is there an understanding that being part of the U.S.-led alliance means letting go of ancient grievances and letting go of,
the question is, Josh, Canada is generally there by their side as well. Some NATO 31 countries, Canada, been Iraq war, Afghanistan, etc. Josh, if war, can Trump or admin serve a third term? No, they cannot. That happened. I can't remember. Was it Ford or something like that? What does he serve? 3-4 terms. The Constitution, it was constitutionally amended. Under no circumstances can anybody serve more than 2 terms, not even during wartime.
Some of these long and nasty memories that have kept the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, the Arab-Israeli conflict alive in the region. I think we could be watching
FDR flank. Yes, there we go.
A reorientation, if you will. But I think so much.
I think FDR served 4 terms.
This is going to hinge on success. In other words, do they topple the regime? Can they maintain a certain amount of stability in Iran after the regime has been toppled?
You would need a constitutional amendment, and that takes about 14 years at least.
Toppled, and if the answer is yes, then
you would need, I think, 80%. Like states would have to vote on it. You need something like 80-something%. It's just not an option.
I think there is a wide.
There are a lot of people that go, well, he's going to try and stay in for a third term. I mean, I don't know if you've seen him lately. He's pretty old man. It's not something that I don't think it's even on his radar, to be honest with you. I think he likes to say stuff like that to piss people off.
Strategy, a diplomatic strategy that feeds into that military strategy that appears to be working so far. But let me just say, Andy, there is still a lot of fighting to be done. Air defenses are not hermetic. You're seeing some of those air defenses let some missiles through. That means damage in the Arab world. It means damage in Israel. It means damage to American, vessels. There will be setbacks. There will be steps backward in this war. But I think that if the Israelis and the United States stick to what appears to be a pretty solid war plan right now, and the Arabs have patience to allow for this to play out, I see some potentially very positive outcomes here. And that's obviously what I'm cheering.
I don't think that this is Iraq 2.0. I just don't. Or Afghanistan. I don't think it's going to cost $3 trillion. I don't think that it's going to go on for 20 years. I don't think that it's in the best interest for this administration. I don't think that it's in the best interest for the United States to continue something like this for an extended period of time. But I don't see it going on like that. I don't think it's going to be a $3 trillion war, but things will go up. Things will get more expensive. This isn't a rebuilding of the country. This is more of a, here's your country, try to take it back.
Yeah, patience is another key with this could last 4 weeks. And President Trump also saying there are likely going to be more casualties. Already 3 U.S. service members losing their lives in terms of this. You mentioned the nature of this. The net is very wide. The Iron Dome is very strong, but it's not perfect. There have already been strikes in Israel and other nations as well. In terms of what we're seeing there, last year it felt like the response from Iran, it lacked sophistication. It lacked any power. Are we seeing a different tone? Are they showing a little bit more strength than they did potentially last year?
But, this goes so much further than just war itself. As long as this Strait of Hormuz is closed, it could cause something like what happened in the 70s, an energy shock. I mean, this could be devastating to the economy, American economy specifically. I mean, we rely on those straits. Those are very, very strategic for the United States. I mean, so it's very complicated.
You know, actually, as I'm hearing it right now, so far they look weaker and less organized. And that's interesting to me because they've had a lot of time to prepare. But as I understand it, you know, some 20 hours into the war yesterday, they had only been able to squeeze off about 180 missiles. You know, I think we're probably up to maybe 200 or maybe even a little bit more now that went into Israeli airspace. Of course, there have been other attacks that we've seen in the Arab world. And this is really, in many cases, the first time that we're watching this integrated air defense system, you know, kick into high gear. I think it's working. But I think that the Iranian strategy seems to be somewhat blunt. They don't appear to be getting close to the strategic targets in Israel that they probably were aiming for. So far, it looks like they're hitting civilian infrastructure. In other words, war crimes. But they don't appear to be able to penetrate.
I mean, the guy says war crimes like anyone gives a damn.
Israeli defenses in places that matter most to them, at least so far. And so I think what they're finding is that they have to go into some of these civilian areas. And that's where they're focusing, at least for the moment. I'm hearing, though, that in some cases, the Israelis are able to target the missiles before they're launched. I'm hearing that the Israelis are targeting missile launchers. These are more static, and there are far fewer of them. And the more that are removed from the battlefield, the harder it's going to be for the regime to fire missiles. I'm hearing that in some cases, they need to fuel the missiles before they're able to fire them. The liquid fuel missiles can take 2 to 3
I haven't seen it. I've heard it, though. I heard about it.
hours, and that leaves them as sitting ducks out in the middle of the day. Fuel the missiles before they're able to fire them. The liquid fuel missiles can take 2 to 3 hours, and that leaves them as sitting ducks out in the middle of the desert in western Iran, and the Israelis have been able to strike. So, overall, at least for now, I'm not seeing an impressive showing by the Islamic Republic. Again, you know, I think the Israelis and the United States have air superiority, which means they can, there's barely, if any, air defenses, which means that they can go around hunting for whatever they want, in close proximity to population centers and to military bases without real fear of getting hit. So I think the Iranian regime is reeling. It doesn't mean that they're gone. It means that they're in trouble. And I think they're trying to find their footing again with new leaders. I think what the thing that I would maybe just observe here is that they do appear to be more durable than anybody thought. After the rounds of strikes that we've seen, it was an enormous number of strikes yesterday, 1,000 plus by the United States, 500-600 from the Israelis. And that was just on day one. And the regime is still holding, at least for now.
Yeah, the patience, the persistence of all of this, because the United States also launching those B-2 bombers with 2,000-pound bombs, taking out some of those missile kind of bases for Iran. I do want to ask you about what's going on there, because you mentioned that it's going to take some time. They're durable for this time being. They kind of put the window at 4 weeks, and then there's obviously a rough timeline of things. If we're kind of moving forward over the next several days, what signals are you looking that it might be moving in the right direction, that the shift might have been felt in Iran?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely watching the people of Iran. They just suffered immense tragedy. 30, 40,000 people slaughtered in the streets for the crime of coming out to protest their oppressive regime. They went back inside and they didn't want to come back out again. I think we're starting to see some additional protests. But I mean, I think the big question, and Donald Trump has called upon the people of Iran to come out and and reclaim their country. I'm watching to see the signs of that, because I think they felt abandoned at one point. They felt like we had left them out to dry. Now I think they're probably really feeling like, we're absolutely in their corner, and it will be up to them to retake the initiative. So I'm watching that. But I think the one thing that I just want to counsel here is, there's a sense in the United States and maybe around the world that, we're the most powerful military. The United States military is second to none. And so it should just be easy to do this. I think what folks need to understand.
All right, guys had his run there. Let's check this out. So this is a fighter pilot that went down over Kuwait, and I believe he ejected before it happened. This is what Beth was referring to here. Wow. That is unbelievable.
شوف فيها واحد شوف هذا المسير يا الربع شوف انزلوا هذول ايرانيين شوف فيها واحد شوف
So it looks like the pilot made it.
هذا المسير يا الربع شوف انزلوا هذول ايرانيين.
It's Jerry Lynn's birthday. Okay. Let's do this here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jerry Lynn. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. What's Steve saying? All of them survive. Wow, that's amazing.
According to Kuwait, the cause of the crashes have not been determined yet. That's what they said in their statement.
Really? We have 2 birthdays?
Crazy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I haven't seen any posts. I haven't seen anything from the U.S. government about the multiple planes, American warplanes that crashed in Kuwait.
That was I just know that it was an Iranian girls' school, but other than that, I don't know. Yeah, Steve's pretty good, man. He's good stuff.
Wait.
I'm a fan. I'm going to show you this really quick. I thought this was very interesting. I've never seen the Middle East quite like this. On full radar.
Yeah, we talked about a bunch about this before. I don't have the rights to show all of these videos. There's a bunch of videos that about.
Okay, we got it, Steve. I know. Look at this. So this is flight radar, flightradar247.com. It shows every plane that is in the air currently. And if you look, you see all these planes. You know, it's very active, except for Iran has nothing. Iraq has nothing. Nothing. Look at that. Look, there's not not one single plane, fighter jet, helicopter, nothing. They don't have anything up. So when you talk about air dominance, and the B-52 bombers do not show up on flight radar. Well, Iran isn't necessarily a no-fly zone. They anything that goes up would get shut down. Same thing with Iraq, same way. Well, they're not fighting with anything. They're just shooting rockets from inside their country. Holy shit. Iran, and that is a huge airspace. Look at Tehran, the capital, nothing. They don't have one plane in the air. I've never seen anything like that. Wow. Look, as you look at that, look, nothing. That's just, I've never seen before. Oh, I mean, it's been a no-fly zone since the invasion of Russia. Yeah, but this is Syria. Jordan has a few up, but Iran has not been like that. Afghanistan, very few flights. Wow. I mean, it's really unbelievable.
That show at least one plane going down.
Iran is isolated, landlocked, and
I haven't seen it yet.
They've done themselves no favors as well by going after Gulf countries.
Al Arabiya correspondent. No reports of power outages following the targeting of the Doha West power station. I assume that's in Qatar if it's Doha West. Yes, Al Arabiya reports that the Doha West power station was targeted in Oh no, it's Kuwait. It's in Kuwait. I'm sorry. Even it says Doha. Doha West power station in Kuwait. I'm sorry about that. So Al Arabiya reports Doha West power station in Kuwait.
But how did the United States lose 2 jets in Kuwait? Like how did they go down? Is it engine failure? Friendly fire? I mean, what happened there?
Targeted, no reports of power outages. Doha West power station in Kuwait targeted. No reports of power outages.
Nobody said. Are you
Hat
friendly
tip
fire?
at Tux Network. What is the Doha West power station in Kuwait? It's on Google.
Who's shooting?
I'll tell you that.
No.
Doha West power. That's Doha East. How about Doha West? There's a Doha East in Kuwait. Doha West power station. Oh, are they next to each other? Is that what it is? I found it. Doha West power station in Kuwait. Not that far from Kuwait City. Let me show you where this is on a map. Hang on a moment. I'll show you what power station that Al Arabiya claims was targeted. Oopsie, that's not what we want.
Steve. Shout out to Steve, by the way. This is crazy. It's fine.
هیچکی هم تو خونه ها همه در رفتن. اومد اونا دیدی؟ اومد
Tehran, the Islamic Republic, excuse me, the Iranian
موشک از اینجا میاد تا سمت چپ بیاد.
got struck with a massive ordnance for a minute straight.
اومد
Wow. Unbelievable.
از اینجا میاد از اینجا. برو بریم.
Tehran. Yeah, I believe they did.
Yeah, sweeping, like Gemini says, sweeping mines is a slow, methodical process. Even a few unlocated mines can keep insurance companies from clearing ships to entering the area. That's interesting. Also, there could be coastal missiles. And according to Gemini, the insurance could get, so if Iran occasionally fires drones or missiles, insurers might not insure the ships. So those are just some ways. So the point is they don't have to have a giant fleet out there controlling all of the waters. They can make it, as Gemini says, they can make the waterway too dangerous for commercial traffic to operate. So that's an interesting. AI isn't always right, but that all seems to make sense to me. Guys, one of the viewers said you should fix your banner. It was one plane. No, the Kuwait military announced it was several planes. That's the official announcement from the Kuwaiti military. Several planes. We don't know the deal. We don't know the cause yet. But they said it was several planes. A number of American warplanes. Thank you, Laura Nolan. Laura says maybe some sort of EMP. I have no idea. I mean, some people are saying friendly fire online, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Thank you, Nihil Purim, our member.
Shot down from
Pardeep Rai 1, Soburn, Red Squirrel, Live Animal, Kelly for Wood, Nepster, Lidwine Elizabeth, Ram Kumar, Badatui. I did want to reiterate this very serious warning about Kuwait that the U.S. gave. Very serious sounding warning. This is this security alert that was posted 3 hours ago by the U.S. government for Kuwait. There is a continuing threat of missile and drone attacks over Kuwait. Do not come to the embassy. This was posted, by the way, around the time that smoke was reportedly seen at the U.S. Embassy complex. I still don't know what happened. AP and AFP both said they saw smoke at the complex. Don't know what happened there. Anyways, do not come to the embassy. Take cover in your residence on the lowest available floor and away from windows. This is, it appears to be a message to all U.S. citizens in Kuwait. There's a continuing threat of missile and drone attacks over Kuwait. Do not come to the embassy. Take cover in your residence on the lowest available floor and away from windows. Do not go outside. Do not go outside. The U.S. Embassy in Kuwait urges U.S. citizens in Kuwait to shelter in place, review security plans in the event of an attack, and to stay alert in case of additional future attacks. That's 3 hours ago. That's not if something happens. That's right now.
Wow.
John Cabot says it's escalating so quickly.
There's just so
Danny Kane says, how could friendly fire take out multiple jets? Could the jets have collided with each other? I don't know.
There's so much false information.
Thanks, Rimfire Channel, who says fog of war is thick. Thanks also, Rune.
I just can't believe that over the last 50 years they've been building up to fight this war or fight off.
It's 12:30 p.m. Iran time. If you missed it, Saudi Arabia has shut down a major oil refinery, one of the biggest in the world, after it was attacked by drones.
You're welcome.
By the way, AP says oil prices rise sharply as after attacks in Middle East.
Josh Gray got mad tonight because he wasn't getting enough money, and he said, I will go make a video. This ain't working, and ended his live. And he had a lot of course he did.
Disrupt global energy supply. Oil prices rose sharply today. Traders were betting the supply from Iran and elsewhere in the Middle East would slow or grind to a halt. Attacks throughout the region, including 2 vessels traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, have restricted countries' ability to export oil to the rest of the world. This article doesn't even have the thing about Saudi Arabia. Mikey says oil is going up, up, up.
I don't think I've
Again, Reuters and Bloomberg report.
Actually, I know I've never made $750 in a night. Ever.
Both that Saudi Arabia has shut
Not even close.
down their Ras Tanura refinery.
Ever. I've even done 500. I don't know what the hell.
Actually,
He's crazy. He's psychotic.
Didn't the government just confirm it? Didn't I post about that? No, the government told Al Arabiya that 2 drones targeting the refinery were shot down and that debris caused a limited fire.
Oh, everybody a moron. Hi, Donna.
Thank you, Choron Nipun, who says, did U.S. fall into Saudi trap? Thank you, Goofy. Yeah, I thank you. Again, I can't show the videos of
Well, the U.S. and Israel launching another round of strikes just hours after allies killed Iran's supreme leader. The Iranian government says it will retaliate for the killing there. The president saying in a social media post late Saturday afternoon that, quote, heavy and pinpoint bombing of Iran would continue uninterrupted throughout the week or as long as necessary, adding that this operation was, quote, to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. And we have seen a global split, with some celebrating the death of the supreme leader, also those condemning the strikes and calling for an end to the military action in the Middle East. Netta Hansen, she joins us now. She's an Iranian American living in the U.S. Most of her family is still in Iran. And Netta, we certainly appreciate you taking the time, especially now. So thank you for joining the program. To start, I know your family is in Iran. How are they doing? Are they safe? Are you able to communicate with them?
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yes, so it took us about a few hours after the initial bombing started. There was a little bit of radio silence between my family members and us here in the States, but we were able to hear from them. We have heard from them today. It's really dependent on whether or not they have VPN access. A lot of the internets are kind of going in and out depending on where you're at. But yes, my family is safe. They are excited to see what changes hopefully come from all of this so far.
Well, I'm so interested in their reaction to all of this and grateful that they are safe and letting you know. What are they telling you about the mood on the ground? You know, Iran says it could select a new supreme leader in the next 24 to 48 hours. Is there a belief that these...
There were let me see. So there were some reports that whoever took over, let me see, Ayatollah Arafi has reportedly been killed in an airstrike just hours after being given the role. But it's not confirmed. That's from Daily Loud. And but can you imagine? It wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, they're out for him.
Military actions will actually lead to lasting change.
There is a hope for it, right? So you have Iran split, you have so many different representations in Iran and the different ethnicities, right? So you have your Persians, you have your Kurds, you have your Jewish population, Christian, Turkish, and then you have that 20% that is in that Islamic. They are more on that extreme. They're hardliners. The overwhelming 80% is very hopeful that these changes are moving towards that progressive movement, more of that free Iran, what we are looking for. And just to add to that, this didn't just happen in the last few months, right? You can go back, if you Google my name, honestly, you'll see that in 2009, it's sort of all.
Yeah. So that's just what it's not funny, but I mean, so the newly appointed supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Arafi, has reportedly been killed in an airstrike just hours after being given the role. I mean, that's just unbelievable. I don't know who's next. Who would want the job? I mean, they're going after every single high official. I mean, it's
all this started with those peaceful protests back in 2009, where we wanted change. Iranians wanted to see a new and free Iran. And since 2009, we're in 2026. You've seen that peaceful protest be met by the Islamic Republic of Iran in a very violent way. We have lost more people due to the Islamic Republic of Iran more than any other influence in the world. So you have the overwhelming majority feeling very hopeful and hoping that this is the path to a free Iran. Then you have the smaller percentage, that smaller group that they are religious. They just lost a supreme leader. They lost a religious individual that has been in power since 1989, right? So it is a very paradoxical reaction happening, because if you're looking at the news, I'm getting questions, are we excited? Are we not excited? And it's really depending on who you ask, right? So it is very fascinating to see how that's working. And then going into it, they're calling for that 40 days of mourning for Khamenei, and you're also going into Persian New Year. So this is a very interesting time for Iranians to be experiencing something we haven't experienced in 47 years.
Yeah, it truly is history playing out before our eyes. I know you spoke with News Nation's Elizabeth Pran. This was last month. And you had mentioned that a big reason why people haven't been able to overpower this regime is really due to fear tactics, like the real possibility of having to revolt against your own family. Most boys graduate school, they're immediately thrown into the military. How may the killing of the Ayatollah reshape some thoughts about overpowering the regime now, seizing on this moment as the president has urged?
So you're looking at it as finally getting a call to action that we've been asking for, right? And when I say we, I mean the Iranian population, Western influence, Western help, Trump, Israel, whoever can help us get that door open. So I believe that that hope is really, once you are starting from the top and working your way down. He's been in leadership for 36 years. We have never lived in an Iran in the last 36 years without him. So having that hope, I believe, really will change how people feel towards that fear of being out there, just in the celebrations alone, right? If you look at some of those images, women are celebrating without their hijabs. People are out there dancing, listening to music. And previously, that's the kind of stuff that would throw you in jail or get you in trouble.
No, I don't think. Well, yes, no, they don't have a nuclear weapon, but that they have been enriching uranium to do so, I believe.
So I believe that hope, that Iranian hope that's always been there, will continue to grow with this. But it's really, how is it going to play out? Is it going to be a situation where the government they can't go back from this? So are they going to sit down with the people or sit down and negotiate with everybody that has an interest in this to see what is the next step forward? Because Iran, unfortunately or fortunately, the Islamic Republic of Iran is very layered in their government. So you do have your supreme leader, but we still have our many layers of the justice system and legislative system. They have their own. So it's more than just one person, but this symbolic elimination, as some are calling it, of this supreme leader is that hope forward to see what momentum we can get from that.
Well, I wanted to ask you, we have about 40 seconds left, but when these protests started in Iran, the president had said that help was on the way, and it didn't come immediately. You had then more than 30,000 people dead. And there were many critical in this country here of those statements that the president made, pointing to those deaths. What was the general feeling in Iran, and how might those feelings have evolved in the recent hours with the death of the Ayatollah, these military strikes that have taken place?
So generally, that 80%, the larger craving that freedom, was optimistic that the president would follow through with it. And right now, it is a overwhelmingly large amount that are full of gratitude and that hope. And I keep saying that word because that's just something that I keep hearing within my communications with everybody, but that's what everyone's clinging on to: gratitude and hope.
What is it?
Well, Netta Hansen, wonderful to hear your family's doing well. Again, appreciate you bringing such a unique perspective to this story. Great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our
Who do we got to call about this? This Cuomo's killing me, bro. If there's an oil shortage, can we not pull from our strategic reserves, or did he get used up last term? No, I mean, we can, but that still drives the cost of oil up, unfortunately. Justin, you're not the only one that feels that way. There's a lot of people that feel that way. There's a lot of people that feel that way. I completely understand what you're saying. I don't think you're the only one that feels that way. But the thing is that the people that are involved in this fight, it's not really their choice, and I do support the military, and I support the people that are being asked to carry these things out. I do not, but I am somewhat bothered that, we have a failing infrastructure at home, and that healthcare is unavailable and unaffordable. Housing is unaffordable. And so, you're not the only person that feels that way. I can see that. No question. Yeah, we got Cuomo big time. I used to, my kids, when I coached baseball, I know a lot of young men that are now in their 20s who have enlisted and that they're in the military now, and they're very young, and I feel very anxious and sad for them. That they've got to do a job, and there are people in this chat that have family members that are involved in this too. So I mean, I get it. I do. I truly understand that point of view. Oh God, Geraldo.
Correspondent.
Dude, we need Geraldo over there. It sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. And think about the, okay, so three military personnel have died. That's 3 sets of families that are now reeling from this. Five more severely injured. You don't know if they're going to make it or not. There will be more. Absolutely, there will be more. There's no question. that there will be more. And that's, look, the money is one thing, but the cost of lives is what is so tragic to me. It's scary.
Large Geraldo Rivera joins into the conversation.
I come from a military family. My grandfather served 30 something years in the military. And he served in the Korean War, Vietnam War, and Desert Shield. Not Desert Storm, it was Desert Shield before it was Desert Storm. He got out in the 90s. But he was in there for, I don't know, so long. And it was very, so it's a really sad thing.
Now, it's always good to see you, my friend. Even for our special coverage on not the first time on a weekend evening. So it's, that these big moments in history, you can't really compare one to the other, but you get the same types of reactions, whatever it is.
My grandpa, he ran special ops in Guam. And then when he got out, he was in, he ran the National Guard here in town. He ran the National Guard. He was a first sergeant of an engineering company. He also did 9 years in the Air Force.
Like when the Berlin Wall falls or whatever it may be, people say, I never thought I would see it. And now with some of these Iranian Americans, this particular woman went to Australia, they say, wow, I never thought I'd see this. And here it is.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, it is a monumental development, we hope. But remember, we have some minimum goals that must be attained. Otherwise, this will not be a success. We have to get a real ironclad, enforceable agreement that there will be no nuclear weapons developed in Iran. You know that you've heard it all. Everybody has been talking about it. No ballistic missiles. There has to be no surrogates, no more Houthi funding, no more Hezbollah funding. The one that has, and now back to your point, Connell, we have to have the fourth leg of the table has to be no Ayatollahs in charge. Ayatollahs, the religious radicals that overthrew the Shah back in 1979, they've been ruling ever since, trying to impose their version of their religion on the people of Iran. They've been just suppressing them in a way that has been inhumane. But this will not be settled on the streets of Los Angeles or in Times Square by demonstrations. Regime change is hard. It's hard. It's often bloody. It's often prolonged.
Dude, I had no idea that the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, or however you pronounce his name. I don't speak Arabic, so don't get mad at me. The guy was like 86 years old.
I think that we have to work at it. We have to stay.
I had no idea he was that old. I just thought he looked old. I thought he was like 55 or 60.
The course, Ambassador Bolton is right, and so is General Kimmett. I believe that you can't. This is not flyby. You can't change this thing with a wink and a nod. I believe
we've tried before.
That you have
Has it
to
ever
get
worked
kind of.
well?
This is my point.
Do you think? No, go ahead. Sorry.
Money.
No, I just think that we need the Iranian army to be on our side, and I believe that that is possible. I believe it is possible for President Trump to deal with the Iranian army, not the Revolutionary Guard, not the Ayatollahs and their crowd, but with the real military. The army, they have not been guilty, as far as I know, by any stretch of the imagination, of the abuses of the people that the theocracy has inflicted. I believe that if we went to the Iranian generals, people that we know from the days before the Iran-Iraq war in the 80s, their progeny, their institutions, I believe that by getting the army on the side of the protesters, you can get the Revolutionary Guard, isolate them, isolate the radical clerics, and then you have a reasonable chance to.
Yeah, there has only been one succession in Iran. I mean, the dude's been there for almost 40 years. 40 years.
Evolve to something like a representative government.
See, that's interesting because that's what I was about to ask you about, whether we've ever done this well before. And you probably heard Ambassador Bolton go back to the Shah coming to power, but that's what we did then, right? We did get the army on our side. The original Shah of Iran coming in the 50s after the CIA organized coup was a military officer. Right?
Every time I hear the Shah of Iran, I think about The Sopranos when Phil Leotardo got mad because Tony said he looked like the Shah of Iran. He was like, that fat bastard said I look like the Shah of Iran.
Right. And Ambassador Bolton said his rule for 25 plus years was.
Well, dude, they just massacred tons of people that were protesting against them. Yes, they're still bombing. Yes.
In his mind, a success. Because I was giving all these other examples, Iraq, Afghanistan. I'd even throw in Libya, where, I know you spent that time there when Gaddafi fell. So this, as you said at the beginning, regime change is hard.
Regime change is hard because there's no structure. For instance, the American Revolution. The American Revolution had the Continental Congress. There was an institution that the revolutionaries, the warriors, that would be organized by, would get the weapons for them, get the ammunition for them, would give them safe haven and all the rest of it. You can't, to have a revolution, we're calling on the people of the streets of Tehran to rise up, rise up against your oppressors. What are they going to rise up? They're going to rise up and they're going to get shot the way they got shot last week and the week before that. We can't, you can't ask people to be kamikazes, to just, give up their lives willy-nilly. They want democracy, or they want some voice in their government, whatever you're going to call it. But we have to give them, like I heard Ambassador Bolton reference Syria.
Yeah, they slaughtered them in the street like they were nothing. It was unbelievable.
Syria, for all its
it was like 86. I mean, the dude was old.
Anarchy and all the rest of it, the long war.
Imagine making it to 86 and then being taken out. Like one of those, like how they say the bigger the alligator, the smarter it is, because it's been able to survive for so long. I mean, that's kind of how this feels too.
Against Assad, there was the Syrians that were the people that made the traffic lights work, that had delivered the milk to the poor babies, or the fertilizer to the farmers. There was some kind of structure. There's no structure for the opposition, as far as I can see right now in Iran. That, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
The army can provide that structure, and I think that's probably where we should be headed.
We only have like 30 seconds left, but how ugly do you think the Iranians are prepared to make it? Like, I was surprised oil wasn't up more. It was originally like 10%. Now it's 4% higher right now as I look at it. They could try to close down the Strait of Hormuz. They could, how ugly do you think they're going to make it?
I think when you corner a rat, that's when they're going to bite you. They're going to turn on you and bite you. I think that these are the last, I would hope, these are the last days of this oppressive regime. But I think that they will be as dangerous as their weaponry and their ammo supply allows them to be. And one other caution. We have not seen, what have we not seen in the Middle East in a while? Suicide bombers, individuals acting out, their own little wars, blowing themselves up at bus stations or playing.
Geraldo, as goofy as that whole Al Capone's vault thing was, it's like a 2-hour Fox special. I'm sure a lot of you remember that when it's like, we're going to open his vault with that big ass mustache, and then all of a sudden, like, they open the vault and then nothing, nothing there. But I did like when he would cover like storms and stuff, or he would be over like, he'd be wearing like an army helmet in, Iraq or something. Dude's got balls.
Dynamite, in the nursery school and so forth. we've seen that ugliness and how bitter and ugly it can get. But I think that, again, if we can get one Iranian institution on our side, the military, the clean hands, the fighters, they fight against other soldiers. They don't victimize, they don't go after Israelis or civilians. I think that we need to pick a side and back that side, and it can't be an Ayatollah.
Geraldo, as always, thank you, my friend. You're the best. Geraldo Rivera tonight as we...
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
It's like if they cut it off purposely. They do that on purpose. I hate it. All right, what's Steve saying here? Steve's a legend, bro.
Black Irish is skeptical that the fire is a limited fire at the Ras Tanura refinery. I don't know if it's limited either. Saudi Arabia has reportedly shut down its Ras Tanura refinery after it was targeted by drones. Quick thank you to
what they said. Let me check the once again, I just wanted to say that it's being reported that the newly appointed supreme leader, Ayatollah Arafi, Arafi, has reportedly been killed in an airstrike just hours after being given the role. And this comes from the open source intel. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noel Barrot to the friendly countries that were deliberately targeted by the missiles and drones of the Revolutionary Guards and drawn into a war they did not choose: Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Iran, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and Jordan. France expresses its full support and full solidarity. It stands ready in accordance with the agreements that bind it to its partners and the principle of collective self-defense provided for by international law to participate in their defense. And that's just 15 minutes ago. Let me see. Play it for you. So it looks like they've pissed everybody off.
Ras Tanura.
I mean, they didn't care. They went after everybody. They started firing indiscriminately at the Gulf state or the Gulf countries that said they didn't want anything to do with it. Not only that, some of those Gulf countries said, look, we don't want any part of this. You guys do what you got to do, but we don't even want you really using our bases because we just don't want to be involved. Not that we're not, you're not our ally. We don't want to be involved. And then after all that, Iran still fired at them. I owe 2 more birthday songs.
Some of our viewers are mentioning the stock futures.
Happy birthday to you. He's tired, dude. He's tired.
I'm looking at one site that says Dow down about 1.2, S&P 500 down 1.1, NASDAQ down about 1.5 futures. Those are all percentage.
Has allegedly been killed already. The IDF reports that Israel recently carried out a targeted strike on a senior Hezbollah militant in Beirut. Beirut's a mess. Hezbollah fired rockets at Haifa, and northern Israel overnight, choosing to enter the battle and facing a heavy price. The IDF struck Hezbollah targets across Lebanon, including Beirut, hitting headquarters, launch sites, and senior commanders. Over 50 villages with Hezbollah infrastructures were warned for evacuation ahead of future strikes. Hezbollah, again, sided with Iran over the people of Lebanon. Anyone acting against Israel will pay a heavy price. Geraldo's like 80-something years old.
The crew members. U.S. warplanes crashed today in Kuwait. They said the crew members all survived.
Steve's built different, though. I mean, it's just how he is.
Why that happened?
And it's a one-man show. This just came in. Israeli minister.
Interesting. BBC talked to an expert from Chatham House who said, Sanam Vakil of Chatham House said she does not expect Iran to choose a supreme leader quickly because they don't want the successor to be killed by Israel or the U.S. Normally, they're supposed to try to choose the supreme leader successor quickly.
But I don't think he was called the supreme leader. Okay, so this is from open source intel. Israeli minister Berkat on the Lebanese government. They need to take a hard look at themselves if they want their country. If they want their country to end up like Gaza, the Lebanese government bears heavy responsibility for allowing Hezbollah to operate from its territory. It's quite the threat, to be honest.
Story building, maybe an apartment building, and a bunch of the floor, but the whole chunk of the building has just been exploded inside.
Right here.
But remember, not the whole building hasn't collapsed. So Israel said they targeted a Hezbollah terrorist.
Yeah, he's
I think they said it was a precision strike.
He's gonna fall asleep. He's fire. Some of those Gulf countries have been talking about this for a while, that if things were to go south for Iran, that Iran, like I said, would indiscriminately fire at countries that wanted no part of this. And that'll tell you a lot about Iran and their mindset. And that'll tell you a lot of why there's a lot of countries that did not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, because they would do stuff just like that. There was no reason for them to do it. They were pissed off and frustrated that they were having trouble getting things through the Iron Dome. They were only able to get off, I think, 180 rockets, which is a lot of rockets. I mean, but not really, when only like 2% of those are getting through. And then you pull up other countries' live feeds. I don't know. Yeah, Steve's good stuff. Agenda Free TV. He covers all kinds of stuff. But this is the stuff he shines in. But he's covered everything. He's a huge channel. He has a huge following, and he deserves every bit of it. I've been a fan of his for a long time. Look, he's going to take a nap. This is Lebanon, Beirut. The one on the screen, is that what you're talking about? Beirut. This is the one that is what the Israeli minister just said. It's Beirut. That's where there's been action too, because I think Israel is striking Beirut right now. Qatar's foreign ministry says Iran must pay a price for its attack on Qatari territory, and that such strikes cannot go unanswered. Sounds like the Gulf nations. Let me read that again. I'm going to read that again because that was important. Qatar's foreign ministry says Iran must pay a price for its attack on Qatari territory, and that such strikes cannot go unanswered. And it sounds like the Gulf nations are about to join. Was that better?
I have an update for you guys.
When I muted, was it better?
Are you ready for this?
If you were listening yesterday when I was talking about this, I was completely stunned that they started firing at the Gulf countries. I didn't think that they were going to do that, because the Gulf countries, like I said, they didn't want anything to do with this. They didn't want any part of it. and even said, we really don't even want you guys to use our bases for this. But go ahead and do what you got to do. And then Iran went and fired at them. They're like, well, what the hell did we do? And now they're pissed. When China and Russia get involved, which they won't, they're not going to lift a finger for Iran. It's all transactional with Iran. They don't give a shit.
Insisting that a base had been hit a U.S. base had been hit in Turkey.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna show it to you guys. Just give me a second. I'll show you in a second.
Okay, so Iran spokesperson of the central headquarters of Hazat Khatam al-Enibra. Sorry, I mean, that was close. I don't know what the hell that is. Or 3 invading American fighter jets were shot down by air defense systems in the area. So the Iranians claimed the downed U.S. jets remain, but the Iranians claimed it, but the jets, it remains unverified. So I don't know if I believe that, but
This reporter guy, they have a big X over it. See? There are no military bases belonging to any country in Turkey. The airspace, land, and sea of the Republic of Turkey, as well as its military facilities, are entirely under its own sovereignty and control. There has been no attack against our country, and posts attempting to portray Turkey as party to regional conflicts are a clear act of disinformation. The public is strongly urged to disregard unfounded claims and to only consider statements from official authorities. So that is the Turkish government saying, no, there has been no attack. And the video that people were sending around on the internet, they have a giant red X over it. Just so you know.
No, it was. They're saying that this could last about a month.
By the Israeli Air Force. Israeli Air Force says, check it out. I'm going to turn the sound down. I can't take the sirens anymore. Eliminated senior members of the Iranian regime's Ministry of Intelligence. They were targeted and eliminated during the opening strike of Operation Roaring Lion. Additional senior officials were also eliminated. Sayed Yahya Hamidi, Deputy Minister of Intelligence for Israeli Affairs. Jalal Pour Hossein, head of the Espionage Division. Just letting you know that. I turned down the sound for a second because of the sirens. See if I can turn it on a little bit again. Thank you, Zeppelin. Thank you, Crypto King. Thanks for shouting out the mods, Crypto King. Thanks, Used Car Salesman, IDK. Thank you again, Crypto King. Thank you, Noah Boa. Noah Boa, no U.S. ships have been hit. I know Iran said they hit one or more U.S. ships. The U.S. said that it's false. There is no reliable reporting anywhere that any U.S. ship has been hit.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me play this for you. This is from the ID. God dang it. Hold on.
Overnight, the IDF carried out retaliatory strikes against several Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, including command and control centers, launch sites, and senior terrorists. We were ready for this. As part of the preparations for our operation in Iran, the IDF prepared for an attack from Hezbollah, allowing us to carry out a swift response. As I am speaking right now, our aircraft are striking targets in Iran, including Tehran, such as underground bunkers of the terror regime. We are operating to eliminate any threats to our civilians and will continue doing so. Hezbollah is entering a fight it cannot win.
I don't know. I don't know if he is or not, but yeah, probably.
Al Jazeera says that Iran's Mehr news agency says that several Iranian border guards were killed in the bombing of a naval border guard post in Jask port. I'll read that report again. See if I can find the original report for you. I got to turn this volume down. Too much going on. Too many.
Wow.
Many sirens. Mehr News says 5 soldiers killed in U.S. attack on Khorramabad.
What?
Following the brutal attacks by the cruel Israeli regime in criminal America, 5 brave personnel were killed. In the Iranian army, in a U.S. attack on Khorramabad, Iran. That's from Mehr News. Iran state media. Mehr News. Five Iranian soldiers killed in U.S. attack on Khorramabad.
I have another monitor coming in. The monitor that I have 2 monitors, but I had a third monitor. For some reason, the third monitor kept shorting out when connected to the other 2 monitors. So hopefully I think they said it'd be here Friday. Hopefully I'll be able to switch screens faster and go back to using OBS instead of StreamYard's stupid ass program.
I'm going to assume that's true because they don't really have much of a motivation to just make up that soldiers were killed.
It's just I just StreamYard just annoys me.
All right, hang on a moment here. I'm looking at a different live shot now. Excuse me. I have a different shot of Tel Aviv. That's interesting. Just to show you, I want to leave it on the Beirut shot, but just to show you, I haven't seen this angle of Tel Aviv before. They say that's Tel Aviv, Reuters. Maybe it's a new angle. I don't know. Where are all the big buildings? Maybe it's just a different angle.
It's not maybe it is.
Anyways.
My man. I have no idea.
Let's go back to Beirut.
Nobody's ever said that.
No, this is Beirut right here. The one I was just showing you, Reuters says it's Tel Aviv. Anonymous says it's Tel Aviv. This is Beirut. But we keep hearing all the sirens on the sound. What happened? What happened with the American planes? I have no idea.
Still nobody knows. I'm going to play this.
It is almost 5 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know that I'm going to make it to 8 a.m. That's a long time.
8 a.m. Damn.
Of the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait. The embassy is urging Americans to stay away and shelter in place amid missile and drone threats there. For more on the war in Iran, we bring in Fox News correspondent Stephanie Bennett. Stephanie.
Hey, John. Yeah, a lot to dive into this morning and a lot of new developments that are coming out as well, as you mentioned, starting with the video from President Donald Trump. It was about 6 minutes long, and he said America is grieving the deaths of those 3 service members who were killed. He said they made the ultimate sacrifice and America will avenge their deaths. Now, U.S. Central Command, they posted on X a few hours ago saying that the U.S. forces are taking bold action to eliminate imminent threats posed by the Iranian regime. Strikes continue. President Trump said hundreds of targets in Iran have already been hit. 9 of the country's ships have been destroyed, and the entire military command has gone. And that mission will continue until all U.S. objectives have been completed.
An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be.
Did when he gave a press conference earlier, or I think it was the one earlier today, and he's like, there has never what did he say? The military operation that was carried out was unlike anything anybody has ever seen before. And then he goes, "It's true. Nobody's seen anything like it." I love when he says something and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I liked when I said that." And then he goes, "Yeah, it's true."
A dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow.
And sometimes he looks to the side like there's somebody there. You're like, "It's true."
Allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen.
Officials say more than 200 Iranians have been killed since the start of these strikes. Secession planning is underway after Iran's supreme leader was killed after more than 4 decades in power. 40
It cracks me up. Yeah.
Others, roughly a part of his team, also killed. In retaliation, Tehran has targeted neighboring Gulf states, with Iran's security chief saying the country is unwilling to
The military operation that was carried out was unlike anything anybody's ever seen. It's true. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
negotiate with the U.S. Explosions have also been heard in Israel, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. And according
Wow, what an operation.
to some of our sources on the ground just now, loud blasts were also heard, of course, this morning in Doha and Dubai again. We're also monitoring reports of smoke rising from the vicinity of the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait.
Look at my hat. It's a big hat. Nobody's ever seen a hat this big. Wow.
The U.S. Department of State Consular Affairs said, quote, "Do not come to the embassy, take cover in your residence, and do not go outside." A UK base in Cyprus has been hit in a suspected drone strike, but no one has been reported injured, and it caused limited damage, they say. It comes after Prime Minister Keir Starmer said yesterday that the UK will allow the U.S. to strike Iranian missile sites from selected British bases, including Cyprus and Diego Garcia.
We were not involved in the initial strikes on Iran, and we will not join offensive action now. But Iran is pursuing a scorched earth strategy. So we are supporting the collective self-defense of our allies and our people in the region.
Damn.
And the conflict continues to widen. We're hearing today that Israel is trading strikes with the Iranian.
I don't know. What did they expect to happen? That they were just going to be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're just going to." No, they're like, "You guys taking us out? We'll take everybody out with us," which is part of the reason why countries didn't want them to have a nuclear weapon, because that's the kind of indiscriminate Yeah, it's verbal. We support you verbally and emotionally.
Backed Hezbollah. In a statement on Telegram, Israel Defense Forces chief, they said they must prepare for, the military must prepare for many prolonged.
But I thought that they would attack back at the people that were attacking them. They kind of gave up on that, probably because they were pissed that the Iron Dome was working so well.
Days of combat ahead. John.
Yeah, let me see. I think this is the one where he says,
over the past.
This is so. Who is this? I don't know if I'm allowed to use it or not, but I don't care.
36 hours. The United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury.
Epic Fury.
One of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat.
Nobody's ever seen so many calls.
Operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself.
I love that. That's my favorite part. That's sort of where I learned how to do Trump, was when like he would say something and then he would like follow it up sort of with like a kind of a softer voice, but he would repeat himself.
Terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization.
They have gone basically against civilization. It's true. It's basically civilization is who they went against.
They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of it.
Then after he does that, then he pulls out again. You know, like then he goes, but now, he just like.
Israel has never been stronger. America is now again the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons, would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others.
It's not happening to anybody, nobody. It's true. It's not going to happen to you. Not going to happen to me.
The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess.
Dude, he is on fire.
And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military.
Absolutely on fire.
Military for good. We want to. I rebuilt our military in my first term.
I rebuilt the military in my first term. Wow, nobody's ever seen a military like it before.
There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America" or "Death to Israel" or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian.
It won't be pretty.
Iranian patriot and death. Your arms and receive Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or
lay down your arms, receive full immunity or face certain death. It'll be certain death. That's for sure. Nobody's ever seen certain death like that before.
Face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty.
Won't be pretty.
I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Wow, what a speech. Never heard a speech like it. Wow. It's true. It's a great speech. What a speech. All right, guys. I'm out of here. I'm going to go to bed. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. There's never been a stronger country. God bless the USA. God bless the USA. Wow. Oh, jeez. That was funny. All right, guys. I appreciate you being here. Thanks again. Please hit that like button if you liked the stream. And if you didn't like the stream, oh well, hit it anyway. Hit that like button. Nobody's ever seen a like button like it before. I love the like button. And Sean, thank you for your super chats. She sent 2 super chats. Thank you. Wow, there was 2 of them. The lab gifted 5 memberships. So did Donna. It is what it is. Thank you as well. Wow. Unbelievable. All right, guys. Peace. Wow, what a chat. What a show. Wow.